back to the Squarespace Entrepreneur Podcast. Today I'm here with Rasmus Myberg of the Spark plugin, and we're gonna get into his story. I first met Rasmus a couple years ago. I think he reached out to me. I think when you were launching Spark initially, and we've been in touch since then. As he's grown and he's done, he's doing a lot more. And so I wanted to kind of just get to know you a bit and get into your story about, first of all, what got you up to wanting to create the Spark plugin, and then if you'd give us some of the rationale behind the Spark plugin. But yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself, and excited to get to know what brought you here.
Yeah, thanks, Omar. So yeah, I'm a Swedish guy, 26, living in Gothenburg, and my journey with my current business, which is Spark plugin, started. It's not several years, but a year ago, I would say, when I was sitting with one of my client websites, and it was a pretty huge website. So I had to code a lot of custom code to it, and search online for different solutions and copy pasting codes and such. Yeah, and after making that code, I had to check in different browsers in mobile, and then it broke. It affected each other, the codes, I ended up. It ended up taking a lot of time for me. So I thought there has to be a better way to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started experimenting with some different techniques, and I ended up making Spark plugin, which in my opinion is a much easier solution than coding, because with Spark you just need one plugin, one design plugin, and then you have like more than 100 different customizations right on your fingertips that you can select different effects, different buttons, different background and such. So yeah, I launched 6 months ago, and more and more has started using Spark since then.
Wait, it's only been 6 months? I
yeah,
feel like,
only 6 months somewhere.
oh my God, I
But
feel
I
like it's
think
been a year. At least,
I
yeah.
think I reached out to you for maybe 1 year ago. I reached
Right.
out to you way before the launch.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense now. Well, if you're not familiar with the Spark plugin, I've played with it, and it definitely lives up to its name of allowing you to add that extra spark to your Squarespace site. And so it's a browser it's an extension, a Squarespace extension. And within a couple of clicks, you have access to what before, like Rasmus just broke down, would have taken you hundreds of snippets that you have to individually customize. Now you can just use something like Spark to do it with a couple of clicks. Now, we got to speak real quick, and I know this isn't your first entrepreneurial venture. So what got you into the world of web design to even get to the point of conceptualizing a plugin like this?
Yeah, so I would say my journey started back in high school when I started my first business, which was making websites for clients. And I was very young back then, and haven't had almost any experience from working on different places or didn't have any business business mindset and such. So no contacts, no. But well, I started my first business and started a website which had very cheap websites. So I thought, well, this will sell super good. But yeah, the days went on and the weeks went on and the months went on. I didn't get a single email from anyone, and probably not a single visitor on my site either. So yeah, I thought I had to do something about it. So I looked at all the different websites in my town for the small businesses, and I made a list. It was like 100 businesses, and I visited those sites and thought that, yeah, 20 of those really need a new look. So I walked to all the different businesses and said, I can make this for you and it will be much better. It just costs this much. But same thing there. The days went on, the weeks went on, and I didn't get any contact from them either. So it was pretty, it was like really big failure for me back then, high school and such. But then I got my first customer. They called several weeks after. So yeah, that's where it started. I only have had one customer that first year, but it started growing and I got more and more customers. And then I started Spark Plugin like 7 years after that.
Right. I love that story, man, because I remember in high school wanting to maybe start a web design business, and then later on in college having the same idea, and then like you get to that first point of like something not working and it's like you either just abandon it or you go figure out something else. And I think that direct sales aspect of, all right, I've got a list of possible customers, and then I've got a list of likely customers, and I'm going to make sure that even though I'm selling something that is virtual, I can make a physical contact to do it. I think it's easy to forget that, especially in the beginning, early stages of your business, is that it's by any means necessary until those means start to produce themselves. So I'm sure that after that first client, it was referrals, or, did you still have to keep, showing up to businesses and saying, hey, I could do your website? Like, how did it work from that point?
Yeah, so back in high school, I didn't have any business contacts whatsoever. So it was really hard. But just that I got like the first customer and starting, I met new people in the business field.
Yeah.
And that was a huge boost for me. Year one, I had one customer, then 3, and then exponentially it grew. So it's much easier when you have a small base you can start from. If you don't, it's hard to start a business if you don't have anything before that.
So when you went to college, was it to study business, or what was it that you decided was going to be the focus to help you continue to build your business?
So I didn't actually want to go to college because I always thought that I wanted to have my own business. But back then I only made like in dollars, like $200 per month. So I couldn't survive on that. So I went on a design college. What do you say? And actually dropped out the last year to focus 100% on my business.
Oh wow, that's that's dope, man.
Yeah, it was very stressful in that last year because I had like
Yeah.
100% college and
Mm-hmm.
100% business, and it didn't work. So
Right.
I jumped on the business train.
Yeah. No, that's really inspiring to hear. Because in an alternate reality, I think I would have done the same thing. um,
Yeah.
so it's cool to talk to you. Um, so with Spark, so now we're up to Spark, right? At what point did Squarespace become a platform of choice for you? Were you always using Squarespace, or were you building websites from scratch using a different platform? Like how did that fit into your journey?
Yeah, so when I started making websites, it was just from scratch, JavaScript, HTML, and such.
Yep.
Uh, and I tried a couple of different platforms, but ended up using Squarespace. It was like 3 or 4 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and I have always continued using Squarespace after that. I really love the ease of use. You can set up a pretty good looking website in just like 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think in its current state, it is really easy to use, but sometimes a bit too small options. You don't have that many options, so that's why I think Spark and other type of plugins is great to have.
So do you ever worry that perhaps Squarespace can say, "Oh, this is a great idea here. Why not um, just make this native to the product and absorbing it?" Does that something that you think about? How do you like either strategize through that, hedge against it? Like, what's your thought process?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, once it was in the beginning, yeah, just when I have launched, it
Yeah.
got really stressful because yeah, Squarespace made a post on the forums about we have a super cool thing. This will change everything about
Right.
designing in Squarespace, and I got super stressful. I just have I like made this plugin in like 6 months,
Yeah.
and then they will just make something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up going on that meeting that they have,
Mm-hmm.
and I was so relieved just 1 minute in the meeting. It was so much smaller than I ever thought. So what it was like the background arts.
Yeah, that's what I
So
thought.
it
Yeah.
can't, yeah, it was not at all like Spark plugin. So
Mm-hmm.
so what I've learned since then is that Squarespace keep adding features, which is great that they do. But I keep adding features too in a
Mm.
much faster pace.
Right.
So they can't. They just take some of. Yeah,
Yeah, I get it.
you know.
I've been asking this question for years.
Yeah. Okay.
And I've dealt with it myself as well. So I definitely know what that's like. And so because the changes are iterative and they're usually small, like for example, we have plugins that some of the functions are now native to Squarespace, but then there's still things that you can't do unless you still go and get the plugin. So in the same sense, if you're if you're out there and you're building something in parallel or tangential to the Squarespace product, um, doing so with your own intention and purposefulness of like, I'm going to make this as good for whoever decides to use it as possible, so that even if some aspect of it is absorbed by the platform, there's still enough added value that your customers will stick around. And I feel privileged to be able to share that advice alongside you, because uh, I remember asking the question 4 years ago when the first guest we had was MemberSpace, Ward from MemberSpace, which is a membership plugin. And at the time, there was no possibility to do member areas natively with Squarespace. But the point is that to this day, there's still things that it's worth getting MemberSpace in order to do where you can't do it natively. So, Rasmus, thanks again for joining us today. It's a pleasure talking to you, live like this. And
Yeah, thank you. You too.
if there's any last words that you want to share with our guests, our listeners, viewers now.
Yeah. I think just get out of your comfort zone and be brave to fail, because failing is like part of having a business.
Great advice.
Yeah. Simple and nice.
Yeah. I gotta go get ready to keep failing. Um, Thanks again, Rasmus, and for all the listeners out there, check out Spark Plugin. What's the domain? Is it sparkplugin.com?
Yes.
Sparkplugin.com. There'll be a link below this video or wherever you're listening to this podcast, so you can check it out for yourself.
Yeah, thank you very much.